The name of the show is The Way to Go. My name is Alan Bendich. I'm going to be your host. Tonight's guest is a friend of mine who I've worked with on several films. He's an actor, a producer, and a director, and his name is Robert Arensen. Welcome to the show.
How are you, Alan?
It's great to have you here.
Yes.
I know, we've worked together on films for, 7 years? When was the first film
I would say about 10 years ago for Joe Cinemara.
Joe Cinemara.
And Purification.
Purification. And that was, I worked with Joe on the first day of the shoot. And it's nice when you make friends on a set who's, it's just
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Like I've known you over 10 years,
So how'd you get into showbiz?
Well, I retired from a legitimate job,
right,
so to speak. And then I had, prior to that, had taken acting lessons at HB Studio.
Oh, really?
And I studied under the great William Hickey.
Okay.
And he got an Oscar for Priscilla.
That was a great movie.
Fantastic.
So how many years did you study with him?
Two. On and off for 2. And then he passed away.
Wow. So before you worked with Joe, did you work on other projects?
Yeah, I did. I did a series called Brooks and Brenner.
Okay.
And I played Detective Brenner.
Right.
And it was supposed to go big, how, most things are.
Right.
And they couldn't do the financing and the producing.
That's always the problem.
It is.
It's always the problem.
I have a friend now in Ireland trying to get his stuff done.
Right.
And he wrote a series that had some very big names attached to it.
Right.
And everybody's bailing out on him.
It's tough. I think it's gotten tougher over the years because there's just so many different projects, that are out there. I mean, like when I used to act in the 80s, there were like just a few television stations, like HBO was just doing movies. They didn't have really that many series. So, but now it's like there's just so many independent features and all this, and it's tough to get the airtime you need to really make it. But
actually, the industry, in my opinion,
yes,
is being watered down.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Everybody thinks they're a filmmaker, a director, a producer, an actor.
Right.
And like, I did 50 student films prior to even getting myself out there for NY New York Film School.
I did the same thing.
But I loved it. I love working with young people who have a lot of energy, and they disappear.
Right.
They do their school, they make a couple of films, their theses films,
right,
and they don't stick with it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I had been in Hollywood. I stopped for 22 years and I started again. And when I started again, I did a lot of films also. But I hooked up with a couple of really good students, and one of them became Beyonce's videographer. And she put me in like 3 films that are, even though they were student films,
right,
I still consider them like some of the best films I've ever worked on.
Right.
I mean, it was just so much fun. And that's the whole thing. To me, like, you're retired at this point, but to me, it's about the fun.
Absolutely.
The enjoyment of filmmaking. I mean, do you still do it? I mean, you do it for fun.
Absolutely. I just finished a film. I made a short called Death in America. That's about the opiate addictions that we're having in this country.
Right.
And a lot of it was very personal to me, so I made a short about it.
Right.
And just trying to get that out there is everybody wants a piece of the action.
Right.
Not thinking about the process of the ingredient of it.
You're right. But also, even though they want a piece of the, at least with me also, I produce, other than this, I produce a show called Scriptless, which I kind of use Joe as one of my mentors.
Right.
Because I saw what Joe could do without a script, but with just a story. And, we tried to take it to the next level, but you get these promises and then they fall through and all this stuff. It's a tough business, but it doesn't dissuade me.
No.
'Cause
makes you stronger.
It makes you stronger.
It makes you stronger.
So what was your first Joe film was Purification?
Purification.
And what? How did you get it? You auditioned for it?
I auditioned. I went, as a business guy in a suit and tie, and basically, and I also played a cab driver in a cab stand with the hat, because we didn't want to know who I was in the first shot, so I went into a cab driver scene and with my head down in the cab stand. But I had my mother in it. I had my daughter in it.
Right.
I had my grandson in it.
Oh, that's
I
wonderful.
mean, it was like a family affair.
Right.
But
Yeah, it's fantastic. As a matter of fact, I was in Somnium.
Somnium, yeah.
And his parents were there. Joe's parents were there, and Joe's kids were in the movie, and it was just in the scene. So it is like a family working with Joe.
Well, I mean, we're his ensemble cast.
Right.
You're in it. I'm in it. Bob Sachi's in it.
Right. What's the girl's name again? There's one lady that's always in them too, and actually she's worked on one of my shows, and I can't think of her name, but she was like a screamer in the first, in Purification. I can't think of her name.
Deborah?
But, I don't think it's Deborah. But
Deborah Bernardi?
No.
No?
That's, okay, we'll have to think about it.
But Joe, he got a big award for having a full feature and done in 2 days.
I know, it's unbelievable.
And it works.
Right, it does. But the thing is, he thinks on his feet. You know, that's the whole thing about Joe. Is like if something happens this way that blocks him, he could always go this way, and it still comes out really well. So after Purification, what other films? Let's talk about Joe's films a little bit that you worked on.
Oh, I worked in a Cedia.
Yeah.
I played a priest, as you know. You were in also that movie with me.
That was a big film for you, though.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a step up, I think, from Purification.
Oh, major.
In terms of how much airtime you had. You were like one of the stars of that. You were
well, I was one of the priests.
Yeah, but you had a lot of
say dialect or lines or whatever,
right,
you know.
So that means like you were one of the stars. Absolutely. I mean, you had a lot of screen time, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I had a lot of screen time thanks to Joe and the rest of the ensemble.
Right, but it was a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
That was fun.
90 Degrees at the mansion with the priests and the real guys. You know, that was interesting.
I played a gardener in it. I just
yes,
remember
you played the gardener.
with a T-shirt. But it was fun.
Your scene was fantastic.
No, it was fun. It's just fun to work. You know.
Absolutely. Joe is the creative energy behind it all,
right?
And we are his disciples.
Right, that's true.
You know,
we're like we're the paint that he uses for his.
Absolutely.
For his
masterpieces. I love his enthusiasm.
He's fantastic,
yes.
and it's nice to have young, enthusiastic people working with him. So after Acedia, what was the next one?
Well, we did. I did a couple of those.
Oh yeah, Tales of the Dark.
Tales of the Dark.
That was scary stuff. Too.
Yeah,
and I like the black and white aspect of it. You know, that they were filmed in black and white. It brought back like a different time.
In one of them, I played a racist, and I really, to this day, feel terrible on the character that I had to portray.
But you're acting.
Yeah, I was acting. That's what made the whole thing. But I had just worked with one of the actresses, Tiffany Tavares.
Yeah, that's the one. That's who I'm talking about.
Right, Tiffany. She's an ensemble.
Right, that's the person I was talking about.
And I said to her, Tiffany, because she played my daughter in Tales from the Dark, and I said, you know, I still feel bad about what the dialogue was, and she says, "Are you kidding? My father loved it." I said, "Really?" She says, "He loved it."
One of the movies, the first movie I worked on when I got to Hollywood was The Twilight Zone, and it was the sequence with Vic Morrow where he played a racist.
Right.
And I played a Nazi in Nazi-occupied France. So he became the person that he hated the most, you know, and he became an African-American, a Vietnamese, and a Jew.
Right.
And, so even though there was a lot of racist talk, the show itself wasn't racism. It was like anti-racism, similar to your show.
Well, I'm really afraid to say anything today.
Right.
Because of everybody takes it out of context. Right. In other words, what did you say? What did you say?
Right.
And like I did a play, off-Broadway play.
Right.
And I played a Nazi SS soldier. Yeah. And I was a commandant of a concentration camp.
Right.
So during the break, during the play, I went out and a woman says to me, I hate you, I hate you. And I'm looking at her, I'm going, and then her friend says, leave him alone, he was only acting on stage. But it really had to affect her.
Absolutely.
Because she was in a concentration camp.
Right, there it is.
And I had to beat them on stage.
Right.
And it took it to a whole new level of
the impact of your acting. Right.
Really, I had that big of an impact to scare her to death.
Well, you know what?
Them on stage.
Well, you actually brought a video here, right, for us to share. So we could really talk about the impact if you want to share it with our audience.
Sure.
Because
you mean some of the scenes?
Yeah, some of the scenes. Okay. So I'd like to maybe we could share this this video of Robert Arensen doing his thing.
That'd be
It's
wonderful.
gonna be great. Okay, cool.
Well, I have cleansed the house, but I have to know. Is there an evil box in this house?
And then he'd jump into the ocean, swim way out, come back in, and feel nice and clean and fresh and start all over again. Absolutely not. I have been in this house with this woman. There is nothing evil in this house.
The house is not. I sense something evil.
I forbid anyone to go back into this house. I forbid it.
What did I teach you about etiquette? Forks to the left, knives to the right. Why is this glass in front of the plate? Forks to the left, knives to the right, water glass in front of the knife. Go ahead, let's eat, please. What's gonna happen to these kids if I die? You have been out of their life for 6 years. For 6 years, you have been out of their life. What is going to happen to them when I die? Who's going to take care of them?
So who's going to take care of them? That was great. Good work.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you.
That was great.
I just have to add one thing on one of those scenes. When I jumped into the ocean and swam right out and come back in and I felt nice and clean.
Right.
I stole that from Burt Lancaster.
Really?
From the
beach scene, or was it called?
It was a great scene.
I know.
From Atlantic City.
Oh, from Atlantic City. I
He
love
used that scene.
I love that. That movie was great.
So I stole his lines.
And Susan Sarandon was
I loved
great.
her.
She's a
Oh my
fantastic
God.
actress. It's gorgeous. too.
Beautiful.
I know.
But what a great movie.
I know. I love that movie.
What a great movie.
And that was in his later years, right?
Yes.
I worked with him on the Osterman Weekend, which was
Ooh.
that was fun. That was Sam Peckinpah's, I think, his last movie he directed.
I love Sam Peckinpah.
It was cool.
Oh my
and
God.
Rutger Hauer was in the movie. John Hurt, a whole bunch of people. It was a lot of fun being on that set.
Absolutely.
So you're doing other things as well, right? I mean, you do.
Yeah, I've worked with Steven Spielberg.
Wow.
I did The
What do you
Post.
do? What, tell me about Spielberg.
When he walked on set, I
Yes.
thought the Messiah had come to visit.
Was it in New York?
Yeah, we shot at Manhattan.
Yeah.
He's like a Messiah on set.
Oh, of course.
I mean, I wanted to go over and kneel to him. I mean, he just had this presentation of greatness.
Well, he is great.
Oh my God, is he ever?
Unbelievable.
And I work with Martin Scorsese.
Never did that. I would love to. That's a person I'd love to work with.
I did it just to see him in action.
Which
Called
movie?
The Irishman.
Oh, you were in The Irishman.
Yeah.
I wonder why. No, because you have that Irish accent. You were fantastic.
I
in
didn't
that.
know. I didn't have any dialogue, but I was next to Columbo at the Columbo rally scene.
That's cool.
And I'm one of the guys who tried to, when he got shot, the reaction. And I just work with Melissa McCarthy.
What's she like?
Oh, I love her. I mean, she bought me a waffle.
Oh,
And she bought the cast, the crew, a waffle. I mean, she
that's
hired the whole truck, and
that's awesome.
these waffles were like $12-15 a piece, so she bought a lot of them.
Well, she's not hurting for money. That's
No,
for sure.
she's not, but she's just got a good
heart.
presence of, what a good person.
So, anything coming up that?
Yeah, Sonium with Joe Cinemara's movie.
Are you still working on it, or is the?
No, my scenes are done.
Is the film done totally at this
Yeah,
point? Oh, okay.
it's done. It's going to be out the 29th of
Oh,
this
that's right.
month.
What am I talking about? It's next week.
Yeah.
But the show won't be on next week. But
Right.
But actually, it'll be on before next week for on YouTube. But
Right.
It won't be airing until that.
But that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
but he has a lot of new people in his ensemble.
Right. The guy, there's that guy that is like the star of it, that young man who's going, I don't know who he is, but we saw him. He's the person that's, he's like a tall, dark, and handsome kind of guy.
Yep.
And he's the
got
one.
a couple of those guys that are brand new.
Yeah.
And I know how they felt,
Right.
because I was just like them in the beginning.
Right.
Wow, this is great.
Right.
Let's see if they have longevity, though.
Right. That's true.
Longevity in this business is key.
I know.
If they don't have it, they ain't.
No, but I wish them well. And,
No, me too.
that's it.
Absolutely.
To me, it's
They got great energy.
right. But it's all Joe, you know, and Joe's the person who actually brings you back. And I mean, how do you? Right.
He makes you.
Right.
I mean, all you have to do with Joe Cinemara is be there
And bring it.
and follow his directions.
Right.
And he's just a great guy to work with.
There's no question about it.
I mean, he's creative genius.
So tell me about the productions and that you've worked on and you're working on.
I work with William Forsyte and Kamal, who's one of the Jerky Boys.
Right.
I did his movie called Laugh, Kill a Laugh. And Kamal is a genius also behind the camera.
Wow.
As a director, Kamal was fantastic.
That's great.
He directed me and Angel Salazar
Oh, I know.
and William Forsyte.
I know Angel.
I played a bartender.
Right.
William Forsyte poked my eyes out, and
that's
Angel
great.
got slapped around by William Forsyte.
Now, Angel, if I'm correct, he was in the
Scarface.
Scarface with Al Pacino, right?
Chichu, get
That's
the
it.
yayo.
Yeah, that's it.
Chichi, get the yayo.
Yeah, I've met him several times. I've never worked with him, but I've met him several times.
Fabulous human being.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
As a matter of fact, I remember he and I were auditioning for. They had asked him to audition, which I couldn't understand. But we were both waiting to audition for a film once together, and that was the first time I met him.
And he's also a comedian.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, he's a stand-up comedian.
Wow.
And I went and saw his show.
Funny.
And it was like, him and I worked together, and now he's up on that stage
That's
and he
so
did
awesome.
a fabulous job.
Yeah, you know who's doing a lot of stand-up now? Joe D'Onofrio.
Yes.
Yeah, you've noticed that?
Yep.
That's it. He worked with a guy that I used to have on my show.
He worked
Greg
with-
Criticos, he did a show with. I don't know if you know Greg.
No, did he work with Anthony Aveni?
Anthony Aveni, yes, definitely.
Okay, and he worked in the movie with Robert De Niro?
Right.
Joe D'Onofrio?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one about the Bronx Tale.
Yeah.
And also, he played in
Casino?
not Casino.
Goodfellas.
Goodfellas.
Yep. he
The
played
young
Tommy.
Joe Pesci.
Yeah, Joe. Yeah, he's good.
Yeah,
he's
he's
good
good.
too.
So, how about your own personal projects?
Well, I did the short
Right.
about heroin addiction in America.
Right.
And the thing about that is it's hitting everybody's family,
Right.
not just in the United States, but all over the world.
Wow.
It's an epidemic.
You mean the actual epidemic? There's no question about it.
It's
Yeah.
it's affecting every single family in the world.
And is this a drug problem bigger than it was like in the 60s and
Oh,
70s?
it's. I grew up in the 60s. I grew up in
Me
the
too.
50s. You had your Quaaludes, you had your cocaine. You didn't have crack.
Right.
You didn't have the heroin was like a taboo.
Right.
Everybody tried minor drug. Well, not minor, but major.
Right.
But you didn't have what you have today.
Right.
Today is a complete addiction.
Right.
And you have a lot of
Drug companies pumping it out too.
pumping it out. Not just pumping it out, but you have a lot of denial from parents.
Right.
They just don't want to hear that their child is addicted to a drug.
Right. And-
So they're in total denial
And
of
that's
any
I
epidemic.
think that's always been the way it was. I mean, at least my experience of seeing that with parents is that, you know, sometimes a kid cries to the parents for attention to show them, and they can't believe that their own child could be on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
It's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing.
Addiction, absolutely. But I'll be honest with you. Thank God I didn't grow up with the crack cocaine because that stuff, I believe, is one hit and you're done.
Right.
You're
But they also
done.
have like this fentanyl and all this other.
Oh God, drugs that
that'll kill you.
that are killing you.
Right.
You
this
know,
fake marijuana stuff that they smoke and
Molly. It makes you into a complete vegetable.
Right.
You want to be an eggplant, so you smoke some Molly or take some Molly.
It's crazy.
You know.
So do you have any other projects you're thinking about that you're going to be producing yourself?
Well, the one I did, I produced it, I directed it, I acted in it.
Right.
That was a very special project called Death in America.
Right.
It's a short, 19 minutes short, but I would like to do a horror film.
Right.
You know, I mean, a good horror film.
Right.
Nothing with just a good one.
Right.
You know, with the suspense and.
It is fun.
I would like to do that.
No, I'll tell you, I just worked on one with Dina, our production manager, and Matt Sullivan, the CEO of LMC TV. And you should see, I mean, they had this, like a fog set, yeah, like they had fog, they had unbelievable lighting, great camera work, and it's, you know, when you put the atmosphere together, that helps a lot.
Absolutely.
And it's a trip. I love it. I love doing horror. Horror is one of my favorite genres to work in.
I like to see the audience's reaction to horror.
Right.
You know.
Well, I remember when Purification. You went to Tribeca, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it was crazy that the audience's
how people love it.
I know it, and it was like you were at the edge of your seat throughout the entire movie. It was like, you know, it was like one thing after another after another. It was just so intense, and it was great. You know, it's amazing how you can to see the way Joe captured the audience was. I'd love to do that myself.
Absolutely. I mean, he did it, and you know what? It was a natural timing, epic event.
It was crazy.
He had the ensemble. He had the cast.
Right.
He had the right energy for the right time, and he's doing better and bigger things.
But even
now.
for his first film, for that to be such an unbelievable film,
I know it.
It was, and then right around that time was the first time I interviewed him, he was the first person I interviewed on this show back in 2012.
Yeah, he speaks very highly of you, Alan.
Well, that's
very
okay.
highly of you.
Well, I love the guy. I'll put it down. I know you do too.
He loves you. I love him. You love. I mean, he's
anybody who works with him.
Everybody. There's not a bad tune about Joe Cinemara.
That's it. It's great.
And you can hear that with different people, and you know, oh, he's a terrible. You know, I don't believe in the gossip with it, but there's a lot of it out there.
There's gossip about Joe, but I don't want to hear
not Joe. No gossip about Joe. But I'm just saying, there's a lot of people who say
backstabbers and stuff like that.
Oh, in
it's
this
a tough
business,
it's
it's
tough.
rough.
And if one person is, you know, no one wants to see anybody succeed more than they are. You know.
Exactly. Well, there you hit it right on the nail.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. But you know what? For people like you and I, who, you know, we've already lived, or you know, the work life and all this. It's, you know, to be doing it for fun. I mean, to watch all the pettiness that happens in the background.
Oh,
and just being on a set is like the best thing in the world. I mean, it's the best day in the world is being on a set.
Absolutely.
And just being asked, and to be asked again by a person like Joe or someone to come on the set. I mean,
I got a part for you.
Right.
Joe, I don't care what it is. One line, no lines, I'll do it.
It's so nice to
I like his energy.
But it's nice to be appreciated.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
But you're really a class act. I mean, no, you are. I mean, I've seen you. When you get into a part, you get into a part, and you're a trained actor.
Well, I trained to the degree of, like, I did a lot of monologues with Bill Hickey.
Well, that's important. A monologue is very important.
And the best part is when I asked him, I says, "How was it working with William Hickey?"
Right.
I mean, with Jack Nicholson.
Oh, yes.
He said, he looked at me and goes, "He just like you, a kidder." And I went, "Okay, that's good." You know.
Yeah, and Jack Nicholson, to be
him.
similar to Jack Nicholson is a high compliment.
Well, for him to say that, just like you, a kidder.
Right.
In other words, because I kidded in class.
Well, that's good though.
Like I had a monologue, and he loved monologues,
Right.
so you come in and do a monologue for him.
Well, you have to practice your monologue. So the whole thing about having a monologue means that you've worked it, you've done it 1,000 times.
Oh, absolutely.
You know? So you're in that part. When you do your monologue, that's like the best portrayal of your acting that you're supposed to. I mean, that's the whole thing.
My first monologue in his class for the first time, I got a standing ovation. You know, people, and I looked at him, I went, "Really?" Because it was on the waterfront,
Oh,
the
that's
car
awesome.
scene.
Yeah.
You know, "Hey, Charlie, you was my brother. You should have watched that." You know, that scene, I did that monologue.
And I actually had two classes. I did a cold reading course. I got my job on Cagney and Lacey before I took any acting classes. So I got it because of the way I looked.
Right.
And then I started taking cold reading courses because I was told that when you're in Hollywood, the most important thing is to get the part.
Well,
So that's the whole thing. So basically what we did was we just do, you know, you get the script, for 5 or 10 minutes, you'd look, and then you'd just have a dialogue with the person. It was like bleachers, everyone watching you, the teacher would be there. If you weren't connected, you had to keep on going and going and going until it really looked good. And that was a great class. And the second class I had was a monologue class with an
Just got to
actor.
learn the lines.
That's it.
You got to learn the lines.
And it was intimidating, but after a while, it makes your whole memorization easier and all this stuff.
Every word means something in a monologue,
Right.
and it's how you present that word. Like you could take Sean Connery
Right.
as 007,
Right.
and then you have another actor who portrayed him.
Right.
He ain't delivering the line like a Sean Connery.
Right, that's
so
true.
the line being shot by Connery is not, the other guy didn't do it.
Right.
I'm not going to say who the other guy,
Right.
but there's a big difference in
Right.
delivering a line.
But the other thing that's interesting is that there's more than one way to do it really well. So that to me is, and that's when I think the way you do things well is that just being in it. You know what I mean? Being in the moment.
And
internalize-
nurturing
right.
that.
Right.
That time that you're in that minute,
Right.
or that time frame of being, like you want to feel completely like when you played in Acedia,
Yeah.
and you were that farmer, you were that guy in that field.
I know. It's
I mean,
fun.
the intensity of Alan Bendich of playing that guy. If you've seen the clip, you know
Right.
that is really a farmer.
Right.
You got into it.
And that's it. But and those are the times that are the sweetest, I think.
Yeah.
In acting, if if you're not there, and if you are there.
Oh, sure.
And sometimes, like when I go to a set and I feel like, and I'm driving home and it's like the time went like that, and it's like, what happened? That's when I know that it's really like it was
But
perfect.
you loved it.
Yeah, but it's also like it's like one of those perfect things. If I'm going home and I'm thinking, what the hell happened? But to me, it's like if it just goes smoothly, and then all of a sudden it's like there's no lines anymore. It's just you are that person.
Right.
It doesn't happen often.
No.
But when it does happen, is there anything better than that? I
No.
mean, it's like the best feeling.
I just have to bring this up. When I did it, auditions,
Right.
as we all go for, I love auditions. I mean, I'm not afraid of them. I'm not nervous. I just love them. So I went into an audition. There's 12 people, say.
Yeah.
I'll say 10, 11, 12 people.
Right.
So I did my, they give you sides.
Right.
You do your sides, and you look at them, and you finish your sides, and they go, okay, we'll be in touch. Thank you very much. So I walked to the door. I had to do this,
Right.
Alan. I walked to the door. I turned around, and I said, you're not going to be in touch. And I'm not right for the part, because I know I'm not right for the part. And they went, have a nice day.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, but the nice way is, we'll be in touch.
Right. I know.
They never get in touch.
I know. But you usually know if you did it or not.
Oh, right.
For me, if they say, you remind me of De Niro or you remind me of Al Pacino, when they say that to me,
then you're in.
Right,
Then
that's
you're
it.
in.
And it happens a couple of times, but that doesn't happen often.
No.
But when it does happen, that's when I know, because usually they say I look like him, but when they say that I'm acting like him, then it makes me feel like,
That's a big
great.
compliment.
I know. That's a very big compliment. And you've been a very big compliment being on my show. I consider it a real pleasure, but there's only one thing left to say.
What's that?
That's a wrap. Good night, folks.
Sweet thing, honey pie.